Good morning, this is Darren Benson again with Performance Motorcoaches. It's a beautiful second week of August morning out here in Wolford, Texas. The dirt has finally subsided. I've decided to come back to Texas for a little bit. Temperatures are dropping and looking forward to being here for a little bit. We're going to go over a coach this morning. This coach is a sold coach. Came in for a customer last week. He'll be in here just a little bit to pick it up. This is a 2023 Verona 36 VSB. Measures right about 37 foot, not quite the 36 that you would expect in the 36 VSB. Exterior wise, really nothing has changed from the 22 to the 23, but big changes inside. Significant changes, less browns, less tans, less that kind of reddish stain. So really excited about the 23 interior. We'll do a video hopefully next week of a Valencia that they redesigned the exterior as well. So kind of happy the product's evolving a little bit as time progresses. Talk a little bit about the RV climate. It's still going strong. Obviously, you know, the towable stuff has dropped off a little bit. This is such a small segment of the market in general, RV market, that these units will continue to stay pretty strong as far as resale value. So I don't see too many things happening there. So still optimistic about this. With the continued price increases of new ones, obviously the resale is going to be impacted positively for all the used stuff. So pretty happy with everything that's going on. We're crazy busy with our big coaches. We obviously do more big coaches than we do small coaches, and we apologize for not doing more small coach videos, but we'll work on that as time progresses throughout the year here. So we'll just kind of go ahead and jump into it. So this is an aero cap, which if you'll notice, most 22 and newer will actually have a bunk over. This customer had no need for that, so that's the reason why it was a custom ordered coach. Skyline, which is obviously the blue exterior, probably one of my go-tos, my favorite go-tos as far as the exterior. Beautiful coach. It is on the M2 106 chassis, so step up from the Valencia. So it's an 8.9 liter Cummins. It's the ISL, which has been used in the RV industry since early 2000s. 360 horse in this, 1150 torque. There was a difference. I think mid 22 they went from 350 to 360. I can't tell any difference, but it's always good to say 10 extra horsepower. So 1150 torque. It has made it to the 3000 series transmission. Has dual 50-gallon fuel tanks there. Easy to drive. Very sharp wheel cut. 55-degree wheel cut. You get this thing in and out of almost anywhere. For people that have come from either a Sprinter chassis or a gas Class C, leaps and bounds. This does really well. I believe this customer had a gas Class C, so he's really going to enjoy this coach. Get out there on the road. He lives out west. This is kind of what you need if you're going to be traveling out west at those higher highway speeds. So let's kind of just jump through it. Like I said, really no, and I'll try to think about any kind of exterior changes for 23. 22. They actually went to a TV that comes out and will swivel around. Little sound bar there, and there's a USB there underneath. Really nice big baggage compartments. They do this little 3/4 forwards of the axle on this particular model because it's a little bit shorter. It makes it nice if you have a table or long chairs to go kind of scooch underneath there. All your baggage compartments will be dual latch, so very robust. Knock on wood, I've never had one open on me while I'm driving down the road. Simple little Girard awning on the side. There is a wind sensor in there that would pull that sucker in. I don't ever recommend leaving them out. So another little kind of 3/4 pass-through right there that actually goes a lot further because you don't have to contend with the drive shaft there. We've got the hitch back here. The hitch will set up with that factory drawbar. It's rated at 20,000 pounds. As far as pin weight, I think they on this particular coach should be about 2,000 pounds of pin weight right here. A lot of the other manufacturers out there use a really short wheelbase, and so the heavy pin weight is very, very detrimental to the drivability of the coaches. So with Renegade having a little bit longer wheelbase, it makes it a lot easier to handle that extra weight. Additionally, it just doesn't drive so wonky having such a short wheelbase and having that weight back there. It will have a camera plug right there, so if you had, if you're towing some type of trailer with a camera inside, so if you had some cars inside, or if you, the people in the equine industry, if you had some horses inside, so you could do actually 2 cameras through that plug. So no cap changes on the Verona line, front or rear, so there's no changes there for 2023. 50 amp short cord, I think that's a 36-foot long short cord reel. Transfer switch is located right inside there. They do a nice little 110 plug in there as well. 8K gen, which is going to be standard all the way from the Valencia all the way to the Verona LE, and anything single axle will be standard 8K gen. For people that have been watching me for a while, obviously this is kind of my go-to right here. This is one of my favorite parts because everything is water jetted in here. Other than these little dummy labels right there, you don't have to wonder, well, how do I put water in it? Where are my low points? Everything is water jetted in there. There is a hydronic register back in the wet bay itself, so in really cold temperatures you can keep this guy nice and warm. Not cord reel, but hose reel. That just makes it incredibly handy to not have to go out searching for a hose. It's right back there. Doesn't take up any additional room. Wasn't a big fan of them, but now with me being on the go and being in so many different places at once is one less thing that I have to contend with. So pretty happy about that. Whole water filter that if you're using pressurized water from the RV park or if you're filling your tank, that will all be filtered. 74-gallon grays and blacks there. There are little 12-volt heat pads on the bottom of there. We generally don't spec them with the macerator pumps from the factory. Just another dealer ad here we can do if the customer wants them. So a little Aquahot 250, right about the right size for this particular coach, 25,000 BTU. Now, it is a boiler system that's designed to heat the coach and also heat your domestic water. So we'll do that just fine. Temperature's probably about down to about 15, 20 degrees. No issues there. In the past there have been some people that have had some issues. We're very well versed on the Aquahot 250. We do have parts in stock all the time. So if for people out there on the road, if you're having some issues, just give us a shout. We'll be able to get you in relatively quick if you're having some issues with your Aquahot. So battery bay right here. Of course, we've got our stock or our house batteries to the right, and then we've got our chassis batteries to the left. This is spec'd with 300 amp hour lithiums right there. They have integrated heat, so if it's relatively cool, those batteries will actually start heating themselves below, I think it's 47 degrees, 40 degrees, and it does have a Victron shunt as well. Said fuel on both sides, 50 gallons on each side. The DEF tank, I think, is only like 13 gallons on this, but you can generally run about 10 tanks of fuel before you'll need to put any more DEF. One thing that people really like about the M2, whether you're talking about the S2 RV on the Valencia or the M2, which is basically the same chassis, just bigger engine. It's a little bit taller once you move up to the 8.9 Cummins. People like the accessibility in and out of the cab. There's a lot of handles to be able to grab in and out of the cab. It's not as daunting for the people that have typically had smaller chassis. So this is a good move for somebody that's had a smaller rig but just wants more power, wants more safety without having that monster chassis. That's one thing we get a lot of complaints on the big chassis is drivability as far as wheel cut. There's night and day difference. I can get this thing in and out almost anywhere. You go to a big 45 foot, you don't get the wheel cut. So this is a great unit for somebody that wants to kind of go somewhere in the middle between, you know, a gas or a Sprinter, and then also a big chassis. We'll go ahead and jump inside. We could go leaps and bounds and talk about the chassis all day long. So as far as the flooring inside, the flooring, that was the only thing that really hadn't changed. Everything else has gotten a lot brighter. This is the gemstone interior. Kind of my go-to would be this gemstone or the Hampton. The Hampton has a lot more gray tones inside. This has still some more tan tones that will kind of pull back to that floor. But oddly enough, even in the Hampton, you see a lot more of the grays out of the floor once all the furniture gets gray as well. So customer opted for theater seats right here. TV will come away from the wall and tilt if needed. All the stain on the 2023 Veronas and the Valencias, this Lakewood, they've gotten rid of that kind of a red tone to the stain and just kind of modernized it a little bit more. We talked about the cab right here, the aero cap. Even with the bunk over, it's still relatively accessible, so there's not too much of a difference. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit quieter because that wind's going to just shoot around there, and that's what this customer was looking for, was the quietest unit out there where the air flowed around. But very easy to get in and out of the cab. Will come factory with a just like a little curtain that goes around here. There again, people add all kinds of aftermarket accessories to block off any of the sun inside the cab. We do a lot of the clear ceramic window tint now, and that makes a world of difference inside the cab itself. Lots of storage here. They moved all the controls out of here. All the controls will either be in the Firefly or right next to the door there. If you do add like a satellite, it will actually come. This unit comes with the InMotion satellite. However, it doesn't come with any receivers at all. We're going to take and kind of flop around a little bit. The cab seats do flip around as well. So 2 Firefly panels, front and back. I'll do the boring part and extend the slides really quick. They still use their same mechanism they use for quite some time, so I call it a flush floor. Basically, the slide goes out and downwards, and they use that pretty much all the way across the board. That's probably the slide with the least number of issues. They use the Xantrex on the back, and at times we have some issues with the Xantrex. Countertops obviously a little bit lighter as well. Solid surface. It's actually a man-made product that's relatively easy for them to install. Kind of open up these just so you can see. Now the Verona, this product all the way down does not have dovetail drawers. They do have all soft close. Once you get up to the Verona LE and above, they'll all be dovetail construction drawers. They started this right about a year ago. That's a pretty handy little pantry to have. I've seen people add them to the upper as well. Like if you're a little bit shorter, it's a little kind of a long reach inside there. So obviously all electric coach, residential refrigerator, kind of my go-to. I won't even consider an RV refrigerator anymore. One of the gas absorption. In fact, the Renegade cut that out, I believe, right about a year ago. They don't even offer that anymore. Convertible dinette, so that will plop down, and you have some cushions there. Like I said, the theater seats, these are mechanical. A lot of people will take and add additional theater seats. Some of those get really big and bulky, but this is a nice clean look to it. A little bit lighter wall board here. Washer dryer here. The Xantrex back here. This is kind of another thing. The customer wanted a queen size bed, so wanted more walk around room around the edge of the bed, and we have heard some complaints all the way to the Explorer line, it does get relatively tight. When they're trying to conserve so much space, it gets a little bit tighter walking around the bed. With this being a queen, there's a lot of walkway right here. Once you move, basically the size would be from a 60 to a 66, so you lose 3 inches around here in a conventional sit-up. So this was custom ordered. One thing I noticed, big deal for me, basically all your USBs, so they have the old school USBs and they're using the new USB-C, so the smaller rapid charge cords. One thing that a lot of people have liked right here, they've done this for several years, people will put like a trash hamper, not trash hamper, but a clothes hamper there, be able to drop those downside there. So they've been doing this for quite some time. There again, another spot for a satellite receiver, or if you did an Apple TV. These are smart TVs, so not so much a thing anymore. From the Verona up, we'll have all Samsung, and then they'll use the Insignia like in the Valencia down. So lots of storage here. The one thing that I want to highlight, the bed depth on any from the Explorer down is 75. So people that are really, really tall have to come up with something a little bit, or just have your head all the way against here. So pocket doors on either side, so relatively easy to isolate this. Of course, you can isolate your shower as well. Fiberglass shower from the Verona LE all the way down to the Valencia. Once you move up to the Explorer, you can get a solid surface shower. And it's kind of it fills the area a little bit better, in my opinion. Tip, always make sure you hear the magic click. Otherwise, you're going to have a broken shower door. So we'll jump back up here. That's pretty much the ins and outs of the motorhome itself. Beautiful rig. This customer is going to be in from Utah here in a bit. We'll do his walkthrough. We'll get him to stay here overnight. Do another walkthrough tomorrow. That's one thing we really preach on, is when you buy from us, we want you to come stay, get comfortable with the unit. There's so much information that happens whenever you're in the first hour or two, and it's so much better to take that information, play with it yourself, and then be able to get another learning lesson the next day. So we got a ton of parking spots out here, a ton of 50 amp plugs. We welcome everybody in that buys these units, and that's a huge difference between what we offer and what most other large box stores. That's leaps and bounds, and people, you'll long forget about the extra dollars you spend whenever you have a great customer service experience. That's one thing we've always prided ourselves on. That's one thing we will always push, is the customer service. And when you leave here, you have my cell phone number. You've got our Brett, our service manager, and I take every single person as a personal friend. And so it's especially as the climate changes a little bit, I think you will find that extra little bit of customer service will well be worth the slight upcharge on down the line. So make sure you guys. Sorry, I'm trying to collect all my thoughts, but appreciate you guys always looking at the video. Trying to do all this before the guys came in. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning, but glad you guys came to watch the video with us. That Valencia that's coming in, I will darn sure do a really thorough walkthrough, talk about all the colors and kind of what things changed, and also try to do some more drive along videos. Make sure you guys keep on coming back, like, tag, and subscribe.